Everything that happened here, she says. I'm assuming that's the this that she's talking about. There we go, assuming again. But again, it's never quite clear from her. So maybe there's some reason to think a little bit more deeper into this possibility of the other dog having something to do with at least one of the child's death. Now, that still doesn't account for both children. Unless, of course, there's a lot more maliciousness to it. Was it that maybe it was a punishment? They threatened Jack and Lily if they didn't quiet down that they were going to sick the dog on them. Maybe they did sick the dog on them. But what would possess them to not call an ambulance when it happened and take that next steps as though it's just collateral damage and they're now disposing of bodies, removing aggregate, removing dirt from the driveway in an attempt to cover up their tracks, and they're going to falsely report the kids missing to the RCMP. So it kind of makes sense, though, when you try to mix that in with all of the traffic between the hours of midnight, 4 a.m., says Bradley Wong, and it would seem to be going this way and that way in different directions. This could be old Danny boy driving around the dirt that him and Janie are digging out of the driveway to dump at the side of the road somewhere else to get rid of the evidence at the scene of the crime. Word up, Brian. What's going on? Hey, Robin Edwards. Is that Daniel's one pair of boxer shorts drawing? He's pretty quiet lately, isn't he, Paula? Are those boxers? I think it might be a handrake. I hope it is. Probably as part of some sort of wiping device that Janie uses when she poops in the 5-gallon bucket in that RV. Some Romanesque type of rag on a stick. They could not even make a safe and clean place for Jack and Lily. Let's not forget Meadow. How many more kids you guys want to have in there? What was the plans, do you guys think, with this relationship of theirs? Hey, Sky Maiden. Good to see you. What was this relationship? What was the direction? What were they hoping to get out of this? Love forever after? Well, that's going to be hard. So just under a year they lasted at Patty's before they got asked, well, before Daniel got asked to get the fuck out. Excuse me, good sir. So they moved back here. And things certainly didn't get any better. Isolated Malaya away from the rest of the clan, and Daniel returned to Safe Harbor, where everybody loved him like Cheers. Danny, welcome home, buddy. It's funny to me, too, you know, that Justin, Danny's so innocent and he's in need of such support. Where the fuck is your brother? Why is he avoiding this situation at all costs? Geez, I could hardly believe he would want to do something like that. Aren't you guys in need of support? Listen, this is my brother and this is my mom's. Justin knows exactly how guilty you are. You were so sketchy, you and Janie, Daniel, since the get-go of all of this. You avoided at all costs interacting with the RCMP. You're too busy out looking at in all these places that a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old couldn't walk to. If anything that you told the RCMP was remotely true. Yeah, Mayflower, I'm of that as well. Like, there's so much we don't know about that. I'm just keeping it open. You're saying, hey, everyone, I would think that if the dog attacked one of the kids or both, it would be a bloody mess. I would expect so, too. The dog would have picked up on the scent even if it was raked away. Well, not really. What are you sending for? They're trying to... First of all, the track dogs aren't going to do anything. They're looking all over the place for them, except for right there in the driveway. Human decomp? Not if you die in that brutal fashion. That's a fresh kill. There's no decomp involved, especially on a cold night in that sense. Very little. And they removed all the soil. It's not like they're at a shortage around there. Just putting it out there. I'm not saying that that's what's happened, but it's my train of thought. But, I mean, listen. I don't want you to think that I'm simplifying things, or don't let your mind simplify it for you and just blame the dog. Because we have 2 children that are missing, almost certainly passed away, and everybody's lying. It don't have to be for the worst reason. Old Janie never leaves that RV. She's out there all the time. How would the dog have gotten outside of that just amazing fence you built there? Bob Vila? Was it meant to go after the kids, Janie, I wonder? Were you trying to scare them? The last time that Jack opens that pen. There's a lot of normalizing of their shitty behavior towards the children in all of this, and it's sad to listen to. Michelle, we know he got iced out, but still, where is Jack and Lily's father? We know he isn't. He's just not involved. He's choosing not to be involved because that's the type of person he is. We can't do anything about that. I'm sure at the core of it, Belinda Gray isn't very happy about it as well in this sense. Puts that much more stress on her to deal with things and the public. But it's not all for naught. Like there's a thing that it's not like we can't say he's not involved. He's been polygraph examined. He's been interviewed. He's involved in that sense, but he's not publicly engaged in the discourse going on out here. And you don't have to be. You shouldn't have to be in that sense. I'm pretty sure that we could guess what he's thinking. It's a shame that it didn't turn out different, but you can probably thank Malaya for that as well. She's the other part of that former relationship. Like, she's the ultimate victim in all of this at every point. It's absolutely ridiculous. I've got my own feelings about it, but she's silent right now, so there's only so much you can say. And she's not being very helpful. She's trying to maintain a facade that she engages her friends, Shelby and Haley, and the other one with the weird makeup. With the Dupering Delight. Actually, I think she's in this particular global news update from 3 weeks ago. They all make me sick, says Helicopter Grandma. Complaining. But don't forget Janie did not want the RCP to go in the trailer because of the dog, but she had said earlier that she penned up the dog. Well, listen, that responding officer should be able to and could be able to know the answer that to the question that we want. Yeah, Cheryl, thank you, Mayflower. She would be able to recognize the fact that Fluffy wasn't the same dog as the one that she was there before she went into search on, what was that, Friday? And you want to see a picture of Jordan? I got a picture of Jordan in the back. Jordan. You mean, oh, that's Durwood's, yeah, Durwood's son? Yeah, I got a picture of Jordan. He's such a handsome fella. It's surprising that he's related to Durwood. He's being pulled through this, manipulated. Off on stress leave too, crying all the time. His wife's left him, dog left him, living with his mom. Have you watched former Op Commissioner Chris Lewis interview? He does 2 separate ones. No. Maybe. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it. It's not like you're going to get anywhere. They're not giving you any key information. This is why we go live. This is why we talk about things. Sometimes it's okay to hear about and from the investigators, but it's all a bunch of public relations nonsense at this point. Telling you the same old shit. The reasons why they can't tell you, and it should be obvious. They remind you of that. Yo, Hilo, if I was taken to that place with my 2 children, I would say, see you. She never had a choice. JM loved to see MBM failing. I would be the best mother ever, and JM would have nothing on me. Oh, she'll find something. She'll find something. She's finding something when she says that about Malaya. Like, what is it you're exactly trying to communicate? Aside from you're trying to make Malaya look like a bad mother, she can do that all on her own, considering the situation. Why is it that this other adult, they're not waiting for things? It's a separate. They're not getting Meadow back in that sense. Malaya, hard to say, but nothing's going to happen with Meadow, and she'll be a ward of the crown. For as long as there is no answers in all of this, she'll be just a ward of the crown. Magdalena comes in my chat saying, now wait for it, are you sitting down? Malaya wanted Amber Alert to tell the whole country, yet she didn't call her own father right away. He found out a couple of days later. So what we're experiencing from Malaya is her continuous bullshit, lies, and deception. She's a liar too, a pathological liar. She constantly lies to Cindy. Constantly trying to lie to everybody in her life, especially about her children's possible diagnosis of autism at such a young age. Bullshit. Malaya probably, I wonder, took or distanced herself a little bit emotionally from her own children way back in December when Children's Aid were there. Added pressure within the household. And they're not going to recognize, they don't even consider what it is that they live in, squalor or a shitty situation. They think how they're going about their lives, treating the kids, is okay, is fine. It doesn't need to be changed. And the state, the province, is overstepping their boundaries and is worthy of lies. In that moment, they were lying to the Children's Aid. Absolutely, they were. And in that situation, they'll as their excuse, they will claim, and that's where the autism, the ASD comes in. Because it's an alternative, and you can visually identify, and they're interchangeable. You can't quite figure out if it's either going to be autism or, unfortunately, severe neglect, and that's coming from a doctor. That's how they will look at things. They'll be unable to diagnose it. You just need to go on to the next steps. Are you concerned? You go to the next step and get an official diagnosis. It's a whole process. So it tells me that she's more satisfied with her living conditions and not really concerned about all of the things that make, one, you a fantastic mother or your kids happy. You want to blame it on some diagnosis, some label. You want to put it back then. That's still putting the blame. You're blaming the neglect and the effects of the neglect onto the children rather than actually confront your own life and make those changes or identify the problems that are affecting your kids, like Daniel in this purgatory that you guys are fucking living in. She probably wasn't allowed to think like that. Of course she wasn't. And that's some of the reasons that she wasn't allowed to talk to Cindy or Patty or whoever on the phone. That was an all the time thing. This problem and it happened all the time. Not just once or twice. It wasn't over a disagreement. It was a constant thing. It was a constant thing where he would hold her down. Sometimes it would hurt. Again, define, well, what does exactly that mean, Malaya? Whatever it is, you're far past the threshold of domestic violence. There's a problem there. There's something that you're avoiding talking about. The problem there was the communications and the things that Malaya were telling Cindy. Whether Daniel agreed with them or not, they were concerned for Malaya. Probably because they knew that she was not very good at looking after her own kids or herself. I mean, it's an underlying problem here to begin with. She doesn't know any different because she doesn't want to know any different. She's preoccupied. She's distracted with looking a certain way. She's distracted with keeping up with her peers. How tight her jeans are. What makeup to put on. She's not distracted with making her husband a steak and mushroom dinner. She's not distracted by making a macaroni salad to munch off of and keep in the fridge for the week. That sounds good, by the way. She's distracted by the things that kept her estranged voluntarily from her family. And it would have to be devices. And that's probably one of the things that Janie and Daniel hold against her. The fact that they're holding things against her is interesting. It tells me that they're not really working together. They're not communicating. They're holding something against her as though she's doing something wrong, and she keeps doing it over and over and over again, which makes them just as bad. This is your girl, and you guys have a family together, and all you can do is point your finger and tell them all of the things that they're doing wrong, rather than work to fix or resolve things. This is a little bit worse than pissing on the toilet seat. Or not being a very good cook. At least you're trying to cook. That's a start. Now, let's get creative. You know, maybe you need to teach them a little bit. Maybe you need to find the right motivation. They weren't interested in all of this shit. They are interested in getting fucking high, getting drunk, partying on the weekends, and being social in that sense, as opposed to really being great parents or gaining education or employment, bettering themselves. The only bettering going on around there to them was that cockamamie looking fence out there, and it is a goddamn eyesore. A pointless eyesore. Fuck, there's so many things to do around that shithole, and you're fucking buying lumber to build a half-assed fence? Michelle Mybell says, LOL, AB, I was going to say I haven't heard all of this. I heard out all of this of MPM cooking once a meal for anyone, including the kids. Usually, especially when you have 3 children, you've got 3 kids. Every day, your life revolves around food. Your food and grocery bills are enormous. Or they should be. But it takes so much time to get everybody fed. You have no choice but to do it all together. That's the most efficient way to do it. So you need to go out of your way and have breakfast on the table, lunch on the table, supper on the table, not to mention nutrition snacks in between. That's a must. And they don't do any of that. Like, I mean, granted, they've got a baby, and I mean, it's not going to be very much, but still. And everything's centric around food. You're going for food. You're cooking food. Except that particular day. Yeah, it would be a major part of your routine, Susan Bezio. You're right. That's the words I'm looking for. I'm leaving out. They lived for a chaotic lifestyle. We choose stability and routine. So the question is, what was old Danny Boy? This is we're wondering or looking for them to tell us the answers to what it is we're already answering, because when you're in a situation like this, there's only going to be so many options, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. And they're playing house. They're shacked up. They got a new kid, and they've got 2 children who are now missing and presumed dead. We've got a sex offender alert in my chat here. You can come back in, you son of a bitch, when you unban me from your channel. Bye-bye then. That was a real life sex offender in here. Can you believe that? He was 37 and she was just turned 15 on her 15th birthday. And he's been crazy ever since. Suffers from Dunning-Kruger effect. Pseudologica fantastica. He's been diagnosed in front of a judge, very rare, that he can't stop lying. Oh yeah, he's a trip, man. And all he does all day is stream himself in like 280p watching YouTube. Him sitting there shirtless watching YouTube. He's a real freak. His name's Rex Allen Fredrickson. You can search him on the Colorado State Sex Offender Registry and Illinois. That's your shout out, Rex.
In the last 5 years or so, because my neighbor, which I'm not going to mention, is known for stealing property. And That was one thing that I did not want him to take. And I also want to mention too.
So there's her deflection to Bradley Wong early on. She knows how damaging that is. It's interesting. This is really interesting how she chose to treat Bradley Wong in this.